What's going on, everybody? We're back here with some Alliance War videos, and unfortunately due to some activities at work that I've been super busy and not able to put the time and effort that goes into making these videos, I'm going to combine wars number 4, 5, and 6, and we faced in these wars ASR, BR, JP, and ISO8A respectively. So we're going to walk through the fights here real quick, just to give you a little spoiler on the results. We ended up losing the war to ASR. We won the fifth war against BR, JP, and then we lost against ISO8A. To kick us off, I have this Tigra on path 6 of section 1. She has Aggression Fury and also the Strike Back node. So basically with Torch, it should have been an easy fight, and you'll notice here too that for some reason that person had placed with suicides, so that made the fight even quicker. Basically I'm just going for the 3-hit combo so that I can build my Incinerates on her, and then because she's a Mystic, that's going to help me build my Smolders and activate the Nova Flame pretty quickly. She's already melting, so this is not, a good placement for her. I understand that the Strike Back could probably be tricky if you're in the corner and she has a special too, but with Torch it's an easy and straightforward fight. Continuing on, we have this Cosmic Ghost Rider also on path 6. I say that this could be a good placement for him because he's constantly going to be spamming his special ones. However, to the counter that I brought here in Doom, that makes that fight a lot more manageable because you can basically stagger the first special one unblockable that he would have, and then basically you can just block the remaining hits. The other thing too with Cosmic Ghost Rider, especially if he's duped, any mistakes that he make that would allow him to complete his 5 judgments, you'll see that damage is quite significantly from the Damnation debuff that he's going to place on you. And you'll notice that, as I was going through the fight, I got a little more confident and ended up trying to dash in after his special one, and he parried me. So he placed that Damnation debuff on me. However, I wasn't concerned because I was properly boosted, and, with Doom, I could easily get the control of the fight back and then finish him off. But obviously, after that slip up, I tried to be more conservative on my fight approach and tried to block his special ones as much as I could. I did make a risky move there that I didn't realize. My shock had expired and I still charged my heavy, and then he blocked through it, so that was a good and lucky moment for me. Following up, we have this Mordo on path 8, the second node. He has Reach Get Reacher node, which means that if he has more buffs than me, so if he charges any heavies, or if I'm not able to stagger any of his power gains, that would give him a slow power gain over time. So right there he started the fight off with the heavy, which I imagined would be the case since I was going to block and try to then nullify his Furies and throw my special 1. Right here I'm trying to build up to my special 3 before I throw that and then start purifying my weaknesses on me. So once those are purified, then my damage will go back to normal. And here just the usual Doom special 3 animation. I'm going to go for my Doom cycle here and go for my special 2 to increase my damage and try to wrap up this fight a little quicker. However, what I didn't really calculate here was the fact that he was going to be right close to his special 3, and then that I would have to somehow manage to throw my special 1 at him. However, due to Mordo's duped ability, he's able to block unblockable attacks if he holds his block for more than 0.5 seconds, I believe. So obviously he's being a prick here and just, holding that block forever, which kind of favors me too, that I was able to find that opening and throw the heavy to end him. And this Miniboss here on Hurt Locker, Power Focus 1 and Unblockable Special 1 against Professor X, I activated my Nova Flame pre-fight against him. It should be a pretty straightforward fight as long as I don't make any mistakes with my double parry. Here I was kind of already freaking out because I saw that the loading time was taking longer than I would have wished for, and with the current state of the game, with a lot of disconnects, I was already freaking out about that situation. However, the fight did just start up, and then here I'm just going to again try to keep in mind the double parry, that I don't mess up any of his non-contact attacks. And I thought for sure that I had enough smolders to avoid his falter there. However, I didn't, but I just tried to do a few hits and he was still on his channeling phase. He was able to fully channel, but then that doesn't make much of a difference for me. I not necessarily have to throw my specials to make this fight manageable, but I did have to make sure that I wouldn't get clipped by any of his special ones if I was too close to him. But he melted pretty quickly, and the power stings definitely go a long way for that fight. This next fight, I'm taking Claire against Cull Obsidian on path 3. The one that he has pretty beefy armor up, and he's resistant to nullify abilities. However, the good catch about this fight is that Claire, she doesn't rely as much on her nullify on contact whenever she has charges. However, her debuff immunity doesn't count towards that nullify resistancy. So that goes a long way for the amount of buffs that he has when he throws his specials, that I can use that special 2 and then farm a lot of power back and be able to keep throwing those specials 2s back to back. I decided to stay on the Incinerate Curse here. Obviously that helps improve Claire's damage. I was trying to keep an eye on not triggering Protect on him. However, I was slightly boosted because I only had that one fight in section 1. And I figured that with a small boost I could get through this fight. He's not as much of a concern unless you mess up any of your parries, and if he has a lot of armor breaks on you, then his damage definitely steps up. But here he's almost down already, and you know, his specials are pretty easy to evade, and I already got the solo. Moving on, we have this Heimdall on path 1 of section 2. He has Vigor, and he also has the node where his regen cannot be reversed. In this fight I was a little more boosted because I was going to do a one-shot in my path 1 of section 2 and one of the mini-bosses. So I was definitely keeping an eye so that I wouldn't trigger his Protect since he's a large champion. The good thing about Claire's special 2 is that he has a lot of hits, so it kind of helps spread the damage and not trigger as much the global protection node. So I kept an eye on that as I went through the fight. Obviously I tried to be very safe here, in which I didn't try to intercept or go for my combos right after he threw his special 1, because obviously with that True Strike it allows him to auto block. So I went the safe route and then just kept throwing my special 2s as soon as I got to them. And obviously I also tried to bait his special 1 because it's much easier to evade. And his special 2, if I didn't have my debuff immunity on him, then he would get the True Strike and make his special unblockable if he also has, I believe, an armor up buff. So throughout the fight, only once I triggered Vigor on him, but then I was able to quickly nullify that right away and not have to deal with his regeneration. Moving on, we have this Dr. Doom here on the Lionheart and Buffet node. So obviously here this is a good placement for him because a lot of people tend to use Quake, and it's a high risk, high reward fight because at the start of the fight, the first dexterity he's going to nullify and then place the shock on you, and that opens up the room for him to be able to get a heavy on you, stagger, and then the next dexterity you're going to trigger his shock again and then be in that continuous cycle. But I feel like Torch is a much safer fight because, as you can see here with my rank 3 Torch, I've basically just melted him in less than a minute. And to close out this war against BRJP, I have this mini-boss on the Stunning Reflection and Polka dot power and stun vulnerability. So Claire is a good option here because obviously she can maintain the different debuffs, and then to deal with the Stunning Reflection node, you would want to be in the poison cycle because Cosmic Ghost Rider is immune to Incinerate. So again, with Cosmic Ghost Rider, anytime that you fight him, his very first special 1 is going to be unblockable, so you have to watch for that because I think the first 2 blasts on his animation is going to be unblockable. So if you were to make a mistake, you would have a pretty nasty Incinerate on you. But in any case, I got to my poison cycle, I baited a few of his specials, and now I'm going into my cycle here of throwing my special 2s. I'm definitely keeping a close eye on that timer that he has for the stun to be turned off, and that I can parry him, and then that increases my damage while he's parried because of the stun vulnerability. But a few special 2s in here, even though I'm not in the incinerate cycle, it's doing a pretty good damage based on the boost that I had, and he's almost down. Just a couple more hits and then that should be enough to close out this fight. Now I have this Apocalypse here. He's on that Footloose node in the middle of path 4, 5, and 6 in section 2. I was fighting him after the global protect node was down because with Magik, every time that I throw my special 2, that would activate his protection. Right there, I thought that I had an opening to dash at him, but then he parried me. He did a little bit of damage, but this was the only fight I had Magik for, so I wasn't too concerned about that. I obviously didn't want to lose control of the fight, and any early mistakes end up costing a lot of your nerves, and then if you don't get yourself back up, you could cost the entire fight. But once I got him in the corner with my power locks, I had my Mystic boosts running, and I was pretty well boosted. Then he wasn't any trouble for me because then the fight was super controlled for me. So this is basically just a rinse and repeat of everything, so I'll just let you watch the end of this fight. Right here we have Magneto against Guardian. He's definitely a good counter to this fight and then even the node, because Magneto is definitely good to control the shock damage. Even though you're going to keep him magnetized the whole fight, that shock damage could be pretty nasty for other champions that are not able to control that damage. However, for Magneto, that's actually going to work in his favor and giving him the free healing. The other thing about this fight too is that you would want to get your intercept in, and I did pretty early on, and sometimes it works that you will get your fury and then his timer will still keep counting for you to have to intercept once again. But in my first attempt, that already shut down the intercept node for the entire fight. And then obviously he has the Sadist node, and I don't want to trigger a lot of debuffs, so that's why I didn't throw my special 3, because that would apply the bleeds on him. But I was pretty surprised with the outcome here on the special 2 that I'm about to throw, because I only had about 12 paralysis, and then that dealt 70k plus damage and then made the fight a lot shorter. And last but not least, we have this Sasquatch here on the second node of Ebb and Flow Intercept that also has Redoubled Determination. So obviously it's a must-have for the Nova Flame pre-fight here. Other than that, it's just a regular Sasquatch encounter that you just need to keep in mind a few things. One being obviously his Rage of Tanorak, that whenever that triggers, he's going to be stun immune, and then his specials will be unblockable. And obviously with his special 1, you don't want to block that too often, because it has a chance of then breaking through your block and then applying a stun debuff on you. Obviously the other thing that you need to keep in mind is that he has Mystic Dispersion sometimes, depending on who placed it, and you need to keep a good control of his power. And I find it a lot easier to deal with his special 2 than the special 1. There I tried to be a lot more fancy and speed up the fight and get my intercept, but then he clipped me. The damage wasn't substantial that would have costed me the fight, but obviously that shakes up your nerves again. And then I had my special 3 saved, and that goes a long way to do some damage and apply some additional debuffs on him, and then the fight ended pretty quickly. So that's it for me with today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and obviously I'm trying my best to get into a more regular and consistent schedule to release my war videos. However, real life always comes first, and then I'll try my best to get back to my activity here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.